Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. So we're talking about how plants are able to harness that light energy and keep it, right? So when we looked back here, we talked about those excited electrons that get excited by the energy from those photons that come in, but if there's nowhere for that energy to go when that electron falls back down to its ground state, it comes off as heat and comes off as fluorescence. Your plants don't want to lose that energy, they want to keep it. So how do they do that? Well, embedded in the thylakoid membranes are these things called photosystems. And these photosystems really are complexes of proteins embedded and studded with chlorophyll molecules, and their whole function has been evolved to harness that light energy and hold on to it, keep it, absorb it. All right. And so when I look at a basic structure of a photosystem, let's kind of dive into what this looks like. I have these light harvesting complexes, right? These are all proteins. And those protein complexes have a bunch of chlorophyll molecules studied within them. And then in the center of that photosystem is a reaction center. Again, another set of proteins. They have a very special chlorophyll A molecule here in the center, as well as a primary electron acceptor here. So what's going to end up happening is those photons come in, right? And those photons that have the correct amount of energy, so the blue, purple photons, the orange and red photons, those come in here. And when they do, they hit that chlorophyll molecule. They cause the electrons in that chlorophyll molecule to jump up to their excited state. Not stable, right? So when that electron falls back down to its ground state, rather than losing all the energy as heat and as fluorescence, it's going to go to the next chlorophyll and excite its electrons. Excites its electrons, electrons fall back down to ground state, passes that energy on to the next chlorophyll molecule. Same thing happens. Electron gets excited, falls back to its ground state, passes on the energy. And so that energy transfer bumps around and bumps around from one chlorophyll to the next until we finally pass that energy to the chlorophyll molecule here in the center. When that reaction center chlorophyll gets excited, its electrons get bumped up to this primary electron acceptor, and that primary electron acceptor sucks those electrons and keeps them. And then we're going to see as we get through the light reactions what happens to the electrons and the excited energy once it gets here. So again, that primary electron acceptor sucks those electrons, and we're going to use that as this first major step in the light reaction. So again, photons come in with the correct amount of energy, so on the blue and purple side of the electron spectrum, or on the red and orange side. Energy comes in, excites electrons, passes the energy when it falls back down to ground state. Excites the electrons, falls back down to ground state, passes the energy again, till we excite this chlorophyll here in the center, bump its electrons to an excited state, and that primary electron acceptor sucks those electrons and uses them then for the rest of the light reaction process that we'll talk about a little later. Now here's the interesting thing. We know based on studies of plants that there are two major photosystem types that exist in nature. And in most complex plants that you're probably thinking about, you're looking at both photosystems existing in that plant. And so they are both embedded within the thylakoid membrane. And you've got photosystem 2 and photosystem 1. Now here's the interesting thing. Photosystem 2, when we get to the actual process of how light reactions happen, photosystem 2 actually functions first. Okay? That functionality and that numbering system get kids a little like, okay, well, why the heck is it like that? Right? So, two reasons. Photosystem 2 was discovered second. All right, photosystem 1 was discovered first. Why did they leave the numbers as they are? Well, photosystem 1, although discovered first, functions second, but evolved first. So in organisms who don't have both photosystems, they have photosystem 1, which tells us photosystem 1 is older evolutionarily. okay? So regardless, I know it's a little funky, I know it's a little weird, it's just something you're going to have to remember, okay? So photosystem 2 is going to act first. How do we know what the difference is between photosystem 1 and photosystem 2? Well, it really comes down to this special chlorophyll molecule here in terms of the wavelength of energy that it is best capable of absorbing. So in the case of photosystem 2, one that functions first, it is better at absorbing wavelengths around 680 nanometers. So they talk about this as P680 here. You'll also often see diagrams where this chlorophyll molecule here in the center is labeled as P680 because it is best at absorbing around 680 nanometers. That tells you that that's photosystem 2, and in plants that have both photosystems, you know that this one functions first. Photosystem 1, however, has a best absorption around 700 nanometers, and so its chlorophyll A molecule here gets labeled as P700. Again, that's photosystem 1. That one's going to function second in plants that have both, or organisms that have both photosystems. But in the case of certain organisms, we're going to see that they only have photosystem 1. And so that's why, although this was discovered first, functions second, but evolved first.